Abe.
Good evening, everyone. Today we are going to discuss about Unit 6. This unit is very small in terms of the size, and also it has only theoretical part. Five not five. Who is this? Ravi, 505.
Sorry, sir, by mistake.
Okay. So let us start with the basic definitions used in this unit. The first one is recursively enumerable languages. So in our last class, we discussed about the Turing machines, design of Turing machines. And now the topic continues. The recursively enumerable language L is a language in which any string W, if it belongs to the language, then the Turing machine M, which we build for the language L, will accept the corresponding string W and halts in a final state. And if that string does not belong to the language, then the Turing machine that represents the language L may halt in a non-final state, or it continues processing the string by entering into an infinite loop. So it may or may not halt. So if the Turing machine halts for every string that belongs to the language, and if the Turing machine may or may not halt for the strings that does not belong to the language. If this is the way we can build a Turing machine for a given language, then the language L is said to be a recursively enumerable language. Similarly, recursive language can also be defined. In recursive language, if the string belongs to the language L, then the Turing machine always halts in a final state. And if the string does not belong to the language, then the Turing machine always halts in a non-final state. So in both the cases, the Turing machine is definitely getting halt. So recursive languages are the languages for which we can build a Turing machine in such a way that for every string that belongs to the language, machine halts in a final state, and for every string that does not belong to the language, machine halts in a non-final state. Similarly, we can conclude this recursively enumerable languages also. L is a recursively enumerable language if we can build a Turing machine in such a way that for every string that belongs to the language, the machine always halts in a final state, and for the strings that does not belong to the language, the machine may or may not halt at all. So that is the definition of recursive and recursively enumerable languages. You need to uh, read these definitions. There is an important question for 5 marks or 6 marks. Differentiate between recursively enumerable languages and recursive languages. You can go through the material which I was given in the classroom sessions. And then the second definition we need to understand is what are decidable problems and undecidable problems. Again, these two definitions also uh, can be defined as an extension to the Turing machine problem. Okay. So undecidable problems are also called as Turing recognizable problems. When we say a language is Turing recognizable, it means if any string belongs to the language L, the Turing machine always accepts it and enters into a final state. This Q accept is a final state, which means uh, the string is accepted by the machine by using a final state. If the string does not belong to the language, either machine enters into a non-final state or the machine enters into an infinite loop. So you can understand that these undecidable problems are nothing but the problems represented by the recursively enumerable languages. So you can conclude like that. So undecidable is same as uh, recursively enumerable languages, whereas decidable is same as recursive languages. So you can see the definition. The language L is Turing decidable if there exists a Turing machine in such a way that if the string belongs to language, then the machine always halts in a final state, and the string does not belong to the language, then the machine always halts in a non-final state. Here you need to understand Q accept is a final state, Q reject is a non-final state. And coming to the part of undecidable problems, this is actually an important topic. Undecidable problems. There are some examples given in our textbook. You need to understand that in examination point of view also, designing a machine for undecidable problems is very difficult. Designing Turing machines for decidable problems, we did it. Like L is equal to A power n, B power n, W power r. We designed a Turing machine for all those problems which are decidable because the Turing machine always halts in either a final state or non-final state. Now, coming to undecidable problems, it is very difficult to design Turing machine. We may succeed sometimes, but it's not always possible. So let us understand few undecidable problems. These are all examples for undecidable problems. The first one is post correspondence problem. Look at the statement of the problem. You will be given two lists of strings. One is represented by A and the other one is represented by B. The string A contains W1, W2, so on, Wn. You can represent it as A1, A2, so on, An also. These are all substrings of the string. And B is another set of strings, x1, x2, so on, xn. So given these two lists of strings, we need to identify uh, a non-empty set of integer sequence I1, I2, so on, In, such that when we apply this non-integer sequence on both the strings A and B, the resultant string must be same. So Wi1, Wi2, Wi3, so on, Wn equals xi1, xi2, so on, xi. So if you can find a solution in the form of this non-integer set of integer sequence, then we say that PCP has a solution. But it is very difficult to identify whether a solution exists for a given PCP problem or not. Let us understand this with an example. The first example is capital A is equal to B comma BABQ comma BA. So there are three substrings in this first set of strings, capital A, and the second one B has BQ, BA, and A. So you need to understand both the lists must contain equal number of substrates. So here equal number of substrates are there. Now uh, find the solution. The answer is 2113. How you acquired this answer? There is no methodology or there is no algorithm for identifying a solution for this. You need to apply brute force methods to identify the solution one after another. You need to identify the solution manually. It does not contain any procedure for identifying it. Okay. So 2113, when you apply this sequence, integer sequence 2113 on both A and B, you will get same string. So W2, W1, W1, W3. If you apply this, the string you get is BA, BQ, BB, BA, which means BA, B power 6A. That is the string. And even if you apply it on X, X2, X1, X1, X3, BA, B cube, B cube, A. So these two are same. You can see it here. BA, B cube, BA, B cube, B cube, A. It is B cube, A. So like that, there may be more than one solution for a given problem also. You can identify any single solution by using brute force approach. There is no methodology or algorithm that exists over here. So you can define undesirable problems as the problems which does not have any algorithm. That is also a possible way of defining it. Okay, and there is another example. Does PCB with two lists x is equal to b comma a comma aba comma bb and y is equal to ba comma ba comma ab comma b have a solution? That you need to identify. Here is a solution. All of you please note down these examples. May or may not be there in your class notes. So make a note of these problems and try it in your home. Solution is also there. Just make a note of the solution somewhere in your book. Practice this and compare your answer with this. It's not compulsory that you get this answer only. You may also get another answer. If you can find another answer, that is okay. But this will be a possible answer. Okay, and there is example 3 also. Please note down these 3 examples and practice it uh, in your home. So make a note of this: example 2, example 3, and example 4. For example 3, I have not given any solution. Probably there is no solution for it. You can see it because if you try the possible options, there is no way of identifying 100 at the beginning, or even if you start with 3 also, it begins with 1. But immediately uh, here B contains 00. So there is no way of identifying a solution. If someone can find a solution for it, it will be good. Share it with others through the group. So I hope example 3 does not contain any solution. And another problem you need to understand is modified post correspondence problem. So this is PCP, post correspondence problem. So a variant of this post correspondence problem is modified post correspondence problem. The difference between PCP and modified PCP is very simple. Here, the integer sequence begins with any number, any integer, I1, I2. I1 can be any number. But in modified PCP, this I1 is always going to be 1. That means W1 and X1 are fixed. And you can alter the remaining substrings so that the final solution becomes equal. So in place of wi1, xi1, the fixed thing is w1 and x1. These two are fixed. You need to try out the combinations of the remaining substrings. So except this, everything else is going to be same. So in PCP, the sequence may begin with any number. For example, the solution for this problem begins with 2, integer 2. But modified PCP solution should begin with 1 only. The solution must always begin with 1 only. That is the only difference. Remaining sequence can be anything. So modified PCP solution should always begin with 1 only, integer 1 only. Okay. So if you understand PCP, modified PCP is very easy for you. Right. And try one of those 4 examples for modified PCP also. Try to find out a solution that begins with integer sequence 1. Okay. And the last topic from this unit, this is hard to understand. Somehow I hope you need to um, read it and try to remember the things over here, because these topics are advanced. You will get all these things in third year. But still, I will explain all these topics. Class P, Class NP, Class NP hard, and NP complete problems. Class P is a set of problems which has a deterministic algorithm which runs in polynomial time. Polynomial time is this: order of 1, order of n, order of n log n, order of n squared, and so on, order of n cube. That's all. These are all polynomial problems. If you can find a solution, or if you can write an algorithm that can run in polynomial time of this, then you can say the corresponding problem belongs to class P. For example, if you write a program for linear search, its time complexity is order of n. Therefore, linear search problem is class P problem, and so on. We can identify some problems from data structures. And class NP, non-deterministic polynomial. To understand this, you need to understand the terminology deterministic algorithm and non-deterministic algorithm. Deterministic algorithm is an algorithm which always produces the same answer for a given input. That means if you write an algorithm for finding sum of two numbers, if you supply 3 and 4 as input, the answer is going to be 7. Again, after some time, if you submit 3 and 4 as input, the answer should be 7 again. The answer should not change. So for a particular input, the answer is always going to be same. So if you can design an algorithm like that, it is called as deterministic algorithm. Non-deterministic algorithm is an algorithm for which for the same input, if you submit at different instances of runs of the algorithm, you will the algorithm may produce different answers for every run. That means if you write a non-deterministic algorithm for finding sum of two numbers, again, I'll go through the same example. If you supply 3 and 4 as inputs at one time, the answer may be 7. For the second time, if you submit the same input 3 and 4, the answer may be different. It may not be 7 also, or maybe 7. We cannot predict the answer of non-deterministic algorithms. But the advantage with non-deterministic algorithms is they will produce the answer very quickly. That means the algorithm always runs in constant time, instead of irrespective of the inputs that we submit. So that is the advantage with non-deterministic algorithm, but the answer we cannot predict. So class P always uses deterministic algorithms, whereas class NP goes with non-deterministic algorithms. So a non-deterministic algorithm which runs in polynomial. When you are not able to find a solution in polynomial time using deterministic algorithm, then the option is go for a non-deterministic algorithm that runs in polynomial time, because we want to run the algorithms very quickly, as quick as possible. So we'll look at non-deterministic algorithms. Okay. So if there exists a non-deterministic algorithm which runs in polynomial time for a particular problem, then it belongs to class N. Uh, And it's not always easy to design these NP algorithms, but we can, once we design an algorithm, we can quickly identify a solution, whether the solution is correct or not. Like 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. If the answer is given as 7, we can quickly say that the answer of the algorithm is correct. If the answer is something else other than 7, we can say that the answer from the non-deterministic algorithm is not correct. So we can easily verify the solution of non-deterministic polynomial algorithms, but it is difficult to design. And NP-hard problems, we can define this as uh, any problem is said to be NP-hard problem if we find a solution for the corresponding problem, and then for every other problem we can find a solution by translating it into this problem which we found a solution. That means if you are able to find a solution for a particular problem P1, then all other problems, let us say the infinite problems that exist in that area, can be translated to problem P1 and the answer can be identified. Then the first problem for which we found a solution is said to be NP hard because it is the hardest problem. If you can find a solution for that hardest problem, then all the remaining problems in the domain can be easily solved. That is what NP hard problem says. It is most theoretical it is, and if you look at the examples, maybe you cannot understand all these problems. You will understand all these problems in the next year. Try to remember the names of these problems: circuit satisfiability, set cover theorem, vertex cover problem, traveling salesman problem, and so on. Traveling salesman problem can also be treated as NP complete. Therefore, it is given here also. Okay. And NP complete problem is very simple to understand. If the problem is NP hard as well as NP, it belongs to NP also. So NP hard and NP is nothing but NP complete. And there are few examples here: finding Hamiltonian cycles, and whether a Boolean formula is satisfiable or not, and traveling salesman problem again. These all comes under NP complete problems. And try to remember this relationship between these classes of problems. Uh, NP, P, this is NP hard, and some of the NP hard problems are NP. Therefore, the problems which are both NP and NP hard are treated as NP complete. Okay. So this is about the sixth unit. Probably the easiest unit you can quickly go through. I hope you understand it. Wait a moment. Let me take a snapshot, please. That's all for today. If you have any doubts, you can ping me through my WhatsApp number. Thank you all. Bye bye.